was like the vision for Tech and Flow would help 100,000 households go from paycheck to paycheck to scaling $1 million entity.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Next Big Thing podcast. I'm Brendan, he's Connor, and today we welcome on an amazing guest, the founder of Tech and Flow Ventures, Xaviar Gray. For those of you who have never heard of Tech and Flow Ventures, they are a company dedicated to disrupting the wealth gap by educating and empowering young professionals to make sound financial decisions. Thank you for your time, Xaviar, and welcome on.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
All right, so we're going to do this a little differently than I have the last two episodes. We're going to let Xaviar go right into his elevator pitch, give everybody some base knowledge of the company, and then we'll move into the discussion part. So Xaviar, whenever you're ready, man, take it away.
So there are sort of two sides to who I am. The first is Xaviar Gray, the advisor, the coach, whatever you want to call me, the financial coach. The other side is the founder and CEO of Tech and Flow. So I'll actually talk about Tech and Flow because it really tells the complete story. For 10 years, worked as an advisor, worked as a banker, saw many gaps. And one of the biggest gaps was knowledge and resources. There are a lot of resources that exist, but not a lot that meet the young professional, the people who need guidance the most where they are. So our aim is create education and digital resources that help the young professional reach their first $250,000.
That's awesome. No, I definitely think that that's an issue that we can all agree has affected somebody that we know. So I guess my first question would be financial, call it illiteracy, has definitely been an issue for a while. Why do you think now is the perfect time for Tech and Flow to get started and enter this market and start helping people?
Well, what led me, first of all, I'm 30. I'm in the exact target of the people that we're talking about. And I recall sitting on the couch in March of 2020, seeing an email from my managing partner telling us the office would be closed till further notice due to COVID-19. And in September, October, and November of 2019, I went to 3 different events. And in those 3 different events, they really challenged me to think about, not getting all funny and quirky, but like, am I fulfilling my purpose? Am I achieving what I feel like I'm capable of? Is my existing vehicle, my existing company, my existing organization empowering me, or do I feel like I'm maximizing my capability through those companies? I think that exact experience was one that a lot of others had. So we saw people saying, I'm going to take charge of my own investments. So more people than ever open investment accounts. 60% of the people who opened investment accounts in 2019 and 2020 were first-time account holders. So that's a take charge moment. Another gap that I saw just from being in the industry is that often the best advisors that I worked with, the guys that had been doing it, guys and gals that had been doing it the longest, that knew the sophisticated strategies and working with the top clients, they didn't work with individuals below $250,000 or $500,000. So basically that told me that the best resources, the best advice was given to the people over that benchmark. There's less than 300,000 financial advisors in the US. There's over 300 million people in the US. Do the math. It just doesn't add up. And the rate of financial advisors was actually dropping because most of them were retiring. So, and then if you add in one more statistic, there was a study done. Gosh, I hate to be the guy that doesn't know the exact source. I could send it afterwards, but there was a study done and it was something like 28% of Americans had a financial advisor, and of them, again, I don't want to butcher the exact number, but basically the people with the financial advisor did significantly better. I think it was 3 to 4 times better financially than individuals without. So really what we're looking to create is that, a financial planner in your pocket that helps you get to your first 250 grand. And for those reasons, we feel like now is the best time to do it.
So can you get into the specifics on what Tech and Flow does to become that financial planner in your pocket? What does the app do and how does it help people?
Yeah, so I think often, um, so also between 2019 and 2020, I met with 4,700 households. And the resonating thing that kept coming up is just, hey, should I start this business? Should I buy this house? Should I make this investment? My buddy told me that X stock was the thing. So it was a lot of questions of like, what decisions do I make? And how does that fit in with my overall picture? Like, I know I have my kids that have to go to school, or I know that I want to buy this house then, or I know that I'm going to I'm going to graduate school and start this job then, whatever. So helping someone create the objectives. But then we get paid maybe daily, maybe weekly, maybe bi-weekly. So every single time I get paid, is my money actually helping me reach my objective? So let's break that objective down into like a task to say, I got paid today. Here's where X number of dollars should go that help me achieve my objective. The other element to it is that uh, money isn't like an instant gratification thing. You put money in your investment account, and tomorrow it might actually go down, right? You put money in your savings account, it's not really that exciting. Whereas you go to the store and you buy a new pair of shoes, or you go see your favorite artist, or you go out and have drinks with friends or whatever, and there's instant gratification. So the other thing the tool is doing is going to create a gamification method where when you make this good financial decision, you're rewarded for doing so. The final thing that it's going to do is you need education. We talked about the kind of illiteracy or lack of literacy. Uh, I know that I want to buy this house. I know that I want to send my kid to college. I know that I want to start this business. I know I want to build my investment account to X. But what is the knowledge that I need to know that's going to help me directly reach my goal? But don't just give me, I could go on TD Ameritrade or Fidelity or Wells Fargo's website or whatever, and I could find some financial literacy, but it's a textbook. I feel like I'm back in college and I'm taking a freaking exam again. Nobody wants to do that shit. Excuse my language. So let me make this education so simple that in less than 15 minutes, I can acquire the pertinent information I need so that I can then be better. I can be more empowered. But then let's take it a step further and let's also reward the person for learning. So let's help make the objective. Let's break it down based on how frequently we're paid. Let's reward the person for making a good financial decision. Let's reward the person for learning, and then we'll create this experience following that model.
So on the website, you have 150 households have doubled their net worth since using the Flow app, which I think is awesome.
Not Flow app, but
Oh,
we can clear that disclaimer up. But keep going.
okay. Do you think a lot of that came from the education aspect? Because I find that to be the most important part. You can track your money, but the education aspect tells you and shows you what you need to do so you can come up with a specific strategy in order to reach that goal.
So in short, where that number is probably more closely related is coaching clients. My clients, more than 150 households, have achieved that level of growth since I've been working with them. Now, to answer your question, I think it's both. It's knowing what to do and why, which is the education component, but then it's also the accountability to actually freaking do it. Right? So I think that that's why they've had that success. Basically, everything that we're building with Tech and Flow is to take the experience that all the clients I've ever been connected to have received and put it into a tool that they feel empowered to use on their own. There's one other thing that I was going to say that I felt like was relevant, but I don't recall. I'm sure it'll come up.
Don't worry about it. I'm interested in your business model. So there's clearly you're an incentive based company. You want to reward your customers. So how are you rewarded? Is it based on their performance? Is it a flat fee? What's your cost structure and your business structure like?
So within the business, it really fits those sort of two sides I said. There's that tech side, which is all subscription model. Just pay a set amount monthly, you get X service. and just like Netflix or anything else that we pay for. On the opposite side, it's an agency side. That's the human component. That's the I want to purchase life insurance or some kind of insurance product. That's the, I want to actually build an investment account and I want some guidance. In the early phases of tech and flow, the first problem we're solving is the tech. There's plenty of RIAs and broker dealers and insurance agencies that already exist. We would not be serving our interest if we just created that first. That doesn't solve a new problem. The new problem was having this digital tool, this piece of tech that we can put in everybody's pocket. So what we're focused on right now is launching Flow. Flow will be done July or August. I was actually just on a call with our developers and CTO earlier today, and we're on schedule. We're about a week behind schedule now, but we're in our second sprint, about halfway through our second sprint. So about a third of the app is developed.
Who is the core customer for Tech and Flow?
It's a great question. So obviously they say the niches are the riches. So let me be hyper niched and then we can zoom out. Hyper niche, 27-year-old, likely living in an urban hub, likely making about 70 grand a year, likely has about $20,000 in auto loan debt, probably about $20,000 in student loan debt, and maybe about 10 grand in credit card debt, and does not want to work for the same employer for 40 years, really is of that mindset of there's got to be a better way. I want to build. I don't want to be tied to any place, any company, anything. I want to have the ability to live on my own terms and manage my own time. That's the home run. I would bet that there's probably 200,000 people, 300,000 people just in the Southeast that probably fit that exact mold. And I want all of them. And then if you zoom out, technically our youngest subscriber right now. So what exists today is an academy. There are courses. There are about 13 courses, and we have about 45 users. Of those, about a quarter of them, maybe a little more than a quarter of them, are paying users. With that, the youngest consumer is probably about 22. The oldest is like 64. So I say young professional. The target is 18 to 40. But what I'm realizing the more that I do this is there are a lot of people that are over 40 that feel the same way. So
Now, why do you think that is? Why do you think that there's, even when people get 40, 50, 60, they still don't understand how to manage their money?
just weren't taught. I mean, unless you like, so I'm gonna push a line here. I think we've learned as people. So I'm a parent now. I have a son. That's changed a lot of my mindset. I hate to sound so corny saying that too, but it's just true. And I think as parents, and you like expect the school system is supposed to take care of your kid, and then you expect that college is gonna add to it. And when you don't learn those basic things in high school, in college, you just didn't get a job and you just become part of the machine. You're a cog in the machine. And I mean, let's not be, in a dreamy land here. There's still going to be, most of the people are going to be in that machine. But for those that really want to learn, for those that really want to do better, which I'd say 20% of the population wants to do better, but is not. There's 300 million Americans again. You're talking 60 million people, 70 million people would love to change their life, but they just don't have the tools or the knowledge to do so. So if that was never taught, then they just fit right in.
Yeah, by saying that, you reminded me of something I wanted to ask you. I watched a few of your videos and they were super educational, and I kind of wanted to get your take on what would you change about financial education? Where would you put it? If someone gave you a blank slate, said, what would you implement into the public school system, let's say, to help with financial education, where would you think you would start?
See, this is where I don't think that we can expect that our public institutions can supply all of it. I think there has to be a collaboration between public and private. And when public and private can work together, then I think a lot can develop. And we're seeing that here. Again, I'm starting to see this at a higher level here in St. Petersburg, Florida. The St. Pete EDC, the chamber, the mayor's office. There's like such this collaborative effort to bring public and private together and further it. I think there needs to be companies like ours that partner with the school system that create this integrated environment. I mean, there's so many people that you have to consider. Some people need, like, there's this thing that we do here in the Pinellas County area. It's called Enterprise Village. And I think like once a year, students will get to go to this Enterprise Village. And it's this place, and it's like a little mini shopping mart in one area, and then looks like an office in another area. And it's this like thing that evokes the imagination of the kid, but they're basically given this card when they walk in, and it tells them how old they are and what job they have and what their salary is and how many children they have. And then they have to go on and like live life, go into the supermarket and, you know, experience what it's like to be an adult that makes decisions with your own money and your own time. I mean, stuff like that is impactful. But then how do you take that and make it to where it's accessible 24/7? Or how do you add other types of experiences? There's a guy that we've brought onto our team that he founded this company called the Sock Exchange. And so he took socks, like socks that we wear, and he designed these socks, you know, fun, whatever, and tied the sock to a stock. So this sock is Apple. This sock is Tesla. This sock is Ford, whatever. And then basically has this way of teaching how to invest in the stock market by using this tangible thing that's a sock. And then you can put this sock on, and ideally you'll be reminded that, oh, damn, maybe I should go check my stocks. So I think there's a lot of ways that these things could be solved, but I think the way it will be solved is, again, the collaboration between local government and corporations that are doing exactly what we're doing, which I'm sure there's at least 1,000 companies that are doing exactly what we're doing.
So clearly you care about helping other people and serving as a greater purpose than just for yourself. So what would winning look like from your perspective for Tech and Flow?
When I was first writing out Tech and Flow, I was sitting on the rooftop. We're living in downtown Orlando, real cool scenery and everything. And I was just thinking, like always thinking. And like one of the very first visions that I wrote down, I had this, I didn't even have a laptop at the time. I used my iPad. I got a little keyboard for the iPad, and I just sat upstairs in this room, and I was like, the vision for Tech and Flow would help 100,000 households go from paycheck to paycheck to scaling $1 million entity. So simple little tax thing. 100% of billionaires are business owners. 100% of millionaires are usually business owners. I can't say 100%, but a big portion are business owners. The reason that is there are tax advantages to having an entity. There are deductions, there are deferrals, so on and so forth. And so if you could help 100,000 people go from paycheck to paycheck to having $1 million entity, that alone would bridge the wealth gap by at least a couple percentage points.
So I've found that one of the biggest things that people who are struggling with money struggle to understand is the idea of investing and how scary it is for them. A lot of people are scared to invest. You kind of touched on that earlier when you said, yeah, you buy a share of Apple and it could be down $2 the next day and there's no instant gratification. How have you guys tried to attack that through Tech and Flow and your coaching, maybe more specifically?
Yeah, I would say at this stage, Tech and Flow, what it's created, again, I referenced that financial academy. So the way we built the financial academy is, did any of us collect Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon or baseball cards growing up?
Yep.
when the new card pack would come out and there would be that special edition one, and you just had to buy that card pack. And not everyone got the special edition, but some people got it.
Yep. Non-negotiable. You had to
Not
get it.
negotiable. Yeah, exactly. We're taking that same approach. We have course packs. So one course pack is the 90-day financial transformation. Another course pack is the investing for beginners. Another is crypto for beginners. We're launching a credit for beginners, and we're launching a first-time home buyer pack. So in that investing for beginners pack, we basically walk them through not exclusively investing in the stock market or what we'll call capital markets. We also talk about, just how do investments work and what is your mindset behind making an investment? Appreciation versus income versus safety of principal versus maybe a combination of those things. Like, what does that even mean? So to answer your question, I think it really starts with those fundamentals. Like, what am I trying to achieve anyways? Now I have my clients and they'll call me and they'll be like, yo, X, my money is losing to inflation right now. I need to do something. Like, okay, that's next level. I'm glad you're finally connecting these dots that
Hell yeah.
isn't doing something, right? So if you can grasp that concept, then now we can build on it, right? And then they'll be like, yo, X, I don't know that I'm really so focused on accumulation. I want some income. I want multiple income streams. All right, now we're on to something. Like, when you start to understand even those fundamentals, now you can decide what investment's best for you. If you're really focused on income, a stock may not be the best tool unless we're building a dividend structured portfolio, which even still, maybe from if like in today's interest rate market, dividends might range from 3% to maybe 14% on like a high end I've seen lately. But maybe you could go down the road and open up a CD and get 5. Now, are you beating inflation? No, not at all. But depending on your risk tolerance and depending on how much time you want to put in or whatever, that may be the best strategy for you. Or maybe you should focus on real estate. I think you get my point. So I think helping people understand just those like fundamentals. Why am I doing what I'm doing? What am I trying to actually achieve? Then we can determine what the best strategy is. And that can be taught so people can make those decisions themselves.
So going off fundamentals, what you're saying makes a lot of sense. When through your coaching, what is the one fundamental that either people are struggling to grasp or struggle with the most before you start with them?
How interest rates work. We talk about all the time, money can be working for you or working against you. And if we have a really boring spreadsheet called the debt reduction spreadsheet, and we literally go through the process of writing out every single debt, the interest rate, how much interest you've accrued year to date, the balance that you owe, your due date, and your statement date. That data right there alone will help you take a snapshot. Then we can use the same exact idea, but go on the opposite side. What assets do we have? Do we own a home? Do we have any retirement accounts? Do we have any brokerage accounts, any insurance contracts? What have we earned year to date or lost, right? When is our statement date? What's the balance? And if you can look at this picture and come up with a calculation of this is how much I paid in interest, this is how much I've earned in interest. And if you've paid more than you've earned, immediately your awareness of your money changes. So the very first thing I try to make clear is this is how interest works. It works for you. It works against you. Let's not even go so far as thinking about compounding. Let's just look at what this year has looked like. And then we can add this compounding thing where we'll layer onto it the rule of 72. If we can earn whatever, the rule of 72, we earn 10% interest, we divide 10% by the number 72, or flip it around, divide the number 72 divided by 10, we get 7.2 years. So if I have 100K today, in 7.2 years, if I earn 10% every single year, I'm going to have 200 grand. When you grasp those concepts, already you're motivated to want to do something different.
What are the biggest common mistakes you see kids right out of college making when it comes to managing their money or financial decisions?
Same shit I did. You want to have fun. Been in your parents' house for 18 years, you've been in college or whatever, and everybody's been telling you when you're supposed to be somewhere, what time you're supposed to do it, what class you're supposed to take, what grade you're supposed to get, what clothes you're supposed to wear. You just want to go out and have fun and buy Red Bulls and hang out with your friends and go to festivals and go to amusement parks and buy the new shoes. And so you don't think about anything beyond next week. You can't even think about next month. Besides, I know there's something I want to do then. So I would say it's that, which to some degree, that's going to be the nature. But if we can teach that person that, hey, if I even take 10% of what I make or 15% and I put it somewhere, it almost doesn't even matter where I put it. I put it somewhere. In like 5 or 10 years, I'll probably have 20 grand or 50 grand and I'll be way better than most people. So I had a handful of those clients that I've been working with since they were 24, 22, 23, and maybe they had 10 grand or 12 grand or 20 grand. And now they pretty much all have a couple hundred grand, all because of just having a system from that point on. But they at least had something to start with, which that was impressive in and of itself.
So one thing that came to my mind when I was thinking about what you said about young professionals, Flow is, the niche, as you said, is young professionals, empowering young professionals. Is there a reason that you're not necessarily attacking or going after retirees, and you're maybe the business model, this is just me talking, but is to empower the young professionals so that by the time you're thinking about retirement, you already have that base there?
You got it.
Ah, I answered my own question, I guess.
And remember those 300,000 advisors I told you about?
Mhm.
Guess who they're calling? Retirees.
Yeah.
People within 10 to 15 years of retirement, and they're trying to manage their assets and sell them insurance contracts and annuities. And those types of deals make those advisors 5 to 30 grand a pop. And they help the client. I'm not dismissing it. They help. The client is often in a better scenario. Often. Of course, there's bad actors out there, but the client is often in a better scenario. But that's not the market that needs our help. So
So,
we're going to serve the people that need our help.
so I just put this together, but with you charging $10 a month, you're not trying to make a commission off the management fees. So now you can target the people that actually need your help and be much more customer centric and customer focused and mission driven with Tech and Flow Ventures, which it's awesome. I love that. And
And then
it's those are the people that need it.
on the back end, we can form the RIA, we can form the broker dealer, we can not in the first phase, but we can have people open an investment account. We can offer a portfolio model for them, much like Acorns or Vanguard or Betterment or Wealthfront or any of these other tools that exist. Or we could offer it to where they could buy individual stocks, much like a Robinhood. Maybe regulators, investors who are listening, it's not happening right now, but maybe we can blend in crypto. Maybe they can buy crypto on the tool. Again, investors, regulators, people, we are not doing anything with crypto, but maybe they could in the future.
So I'm interested in your background a little bit. We haven't gotten into that yet, but you're very passionate about this stuff. Where's that stem from?
Man, I wasn't taught. I have always been a kid, so I might, some of these things probably shouldn't be said, but who cares? I remember being like in sixth and seventh grade, and they made those little pieces of paper, and you turn them into spinners, and you'd like color them, and when you spin it, it would like look interesting. Or you'd shoot tweeties at people, and if you put them in like aluminum foil, you can make them even more deadly. I would make spinners and try to sell them to people. I'd make Tweeties and we try to sell them to people. I got to high school and I went to this very nice high school, and there was a lot of girls that had very nice hair and they didn't want to ruin their hair, and it was raining. So I offered to go get their car and bring it up. And then I'd get bought shoes or get handed a couple dollars, or the next day at lunch, I'd get a free cookie, whatever. Uh, that nature, I think, was as a product of just seeing my family. My family was always entrepreneurs. I mean, I had an uncle that owned a marketing company. I had an uncle that owned a body shop. My father was a landscaper and would bring me on jobs. My other uncle was a real estate agent. And I'd go paint houses and do stuff. So there was always a passion to like, okay, I can go somewhere and they can tell me that they're going to give me 15 bucks an hour or 17 or 19 or whatever the number was. And I know that every hour I'm going to make that. But I also know that every hour I'm not going to make a dime more. And I know that the only way I make more is by spending more time. So the only lever I have to pull on is the more time that I work with. So if I can figure out that if I make one sell, I can make, let's just say on a low end, $500 versus maybe on a high end, $25,000. Then the lever I can pull on is how quickly I can close sales and closing bigger ones. So for me, those were what I realized pretty young, and just always wanted to get further ahead. And then as I started doing things, I remember my uncle when I was like 18, he's like, Xavier, dude, you're young. Just go do everything, work every job, do everything. So I've driven Lyft. I've done landscaping. I worked for some random logistics company. There's a long list. I'd have to keep going. And during that process, I saw people that made millions of dollars, and I saw people that made nothing. And you just start doing some math and seeing what they're doing in their life and seeing where they are and the car they drive and the contrary, and you start putting yourself in different environments. I landed at 19 at Northwestern Mutual as an intern, and the rest is history.
So you've always been the money man. That's how you got the nickname. And I see, obviously, you started off young, and it was more of a passion. You've always been interested in trying to learn how to make more money and understanding the aspect of the inputs and outputs in order to make more. Now, what has been the biggest challenge so far when it comes to Tech and Flow Ventures, growing that as you pursue your journey?
I mean, often a lot of these industries have the leading players, and the leading players quite literally create the rules of the game. The leading players also control how the game is played and what the game even is. So when you're a company that is saying, let's change it, let's no longer keep a blindfold over all these people where the blindfold has been over, and let's take it off and let's educate them and let's gamify it and let's make it look different, and let's have some young mixed kid run the company, and all these, we're just unfamiliar. I think I've had so many conversations with people, and I know that we're right where we need to be, and we've already achieved some level of success, and I'm excited for the next 6 months in particular as we roll out Flow. But I think the biggest blocker is just we're very different. I'm even, I'll even, again, I probably shouldn't say these things either, but I have a Series 7, I have a Series 63, I have a Series 6. I'm working on my 65, so I'm licensed. I have a 215 license. My licenses have been off since I left my previous firm. I'm supposed to go to a new firm, put my licenses there. They look at Tech and Flow. They don't even want to approve an outside business activity for Tech and Flow because it's so unfamiliar. So I'm having trouble putting my licenses somewhere, knowing that I could bring in a few $1,000,000 a year at minimum, probably be one of their top 20% of advisors in their company. And they don't even want anything to do with it. So what do you think investors think? What do you think other people think? But I don't really care. I know who we're serving. We've convinced enough people to believe in us, and we have a strong enough community, a strong enough group of people So we just got to keep going, and I'm sure those things will change. But there will be a higher price down the road.
So, kind of going off of that, I admire how passionate you are about serving people, and that's something that I've gathered from our discussion. So I'm interested when you sit down at night, you know, you're having a beer, sitting by the fire, hanging out. What does your legacy? What is the vision for this company? Where do you want that to go? What is your long term goal?
Some of those questions I haven't answered. I do have to be funny for a second too. The fire in Florida is just opening the front door. So I sit, open the front door, the fire.
Especially in the summer.
Yeah, it's like 94 today. Uh, um, I saw on one of those articles, gosh, 5 years ago, Bill Gates decides to vow 90% of his wealth to foundation and charity and effectively giving it away, philanthropy. Warren Buffett vows 90% of his wealth to do that. And then you even read an article, which I don't know these men. I don't know their intentions. I don't know their hearts. That's not for me to decide. You even hear like an Elon Musk, the world is going to disappear if we don't change energy. And like these just grand thinkers. Um, for me, that's the vision. Let's build success. Let's help as many people along the way do the same for themselves. And then let's continue to reinvest dollars into the communities that need it more and more. If we don't, facts are study macroeconomics, look at the last 200 years of history or 400 years of history, and watch the rise and falls of these empires, these great countries. You have the Dutch Empire and the British Empire, and then American colonialization, and just even the last 500 years, 300 years of history. And often one of the leading causes to countries falling is wealth gap, is the disparity between the haves and the have-nots. So if you recognize that these things are part of the equation, you can add to it social and health disparity and so on, but one of the causes is this income and wealth gap. And if we don't do something to solve that, then the US economy will change, and it will change for the worse. And as a economy, as a country, we will lose authority within the global world landscape. Look at the last year and a half, 2 years, we're already seeing it. Quite frankly, look at the last 25, 30 years, it's been happening, but everything takes a little while to build momentum, and it's building momentum now. So um, I would say that's the vision specifically for tech and flow. Honestly, we're thinking acquisition. I don't I don't know that Xavier Gray has an interest in being a CEO or something of some Fortune 500 company. I don't I don't think of myself like that. I want to be in the limelight. I want to go disappear somewhere and not be important to anybody. So hopefully that my vision is that in 5 to 7 years from now, we sell this company to some other financial institution, more than likely for a few $100 million, and we go start the next thing.
With trying to solve the wage gap in the United States, and Tech and Flow is currently raising money on WeFunder. What are the plans for the near future after you raise the money on WeFunder to allocate it in order to kind of accelerate and help reduce that the financial gap in the country?
Well, the very first thing that we're going to have to finish is development. So we've actually already received our first distribution. So for those that don't have a whole bunch of familiarity because they're not maybe on this side of the fence, when you raise money, it may take place over 4 or 5 or 6 months. And when you reach certain thresholds, you can take some money out, deploy it into your projects, but you can keep raising over that time period. So we've actually done that. Where a majority of the money has gone is developers. So building the tool. We brought on the guy that I told you about that founded Stock Exchange. Um, we did a lot of legal work, so now we're doing some patenting and some trademark and some copyright. That's another important part of being a founder, having IP and having that protected. We re-upped and renewed our contract with our general counsel and created a bunch of other stuff. So a lot of it just went to a lot of those operational things. Some of it went towards like perk redemption. So we're doing a social event as a way to build more momentum for fundraising. For our top investors, we're doing like a little yacht party. Sounds fascinating. Trust me, it's not as exotic. We're not spending tens of thousands of dollars to do this. It's very simple, but it's going to be very quality. So we have something like that. We've sponsored some groups, a couple $1,000s here or there, sponsored some groups. So a small amount of the budget went towards marketing, but most of it is those operational parts.
Well, Xaviar, I want to thank you so much for your time. I've loved talking to you, and it seems like, well, I know I've been learning through this
A lot.
conversation. So I hope everybody listening checks you guys out on WeFunder. We're going to be rooting for you hard, and we hope to see you succeed down the road. And yeah, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for coming on, Xaviar.
Yeah, you guys have a good one.
All right, we'll see you next time on the next big thing. So long.
Legolas. See you so many times before you looking foreign though. She asks if she's my holding, well she's just an orbital. She into space and shit, take trips to different oracles. They said she ain't the one for me and now I trust the folks. And now I'm in it, head is spinning, why'd I do this again? My mind is winning, heart is sinning, it's a tie in the end. Things surrounding us close while I'm turning the bend. Self-destructive, no production, not my homies event.